There are two opposing perspectives for the Heat and Spurs as they enter Game 1 of the NBA Finals here at San Antonio's AT&T Center. Perspective number one is that the Heat earned its 2013 NBA championship. And then there's perspective number two, and that's that the San Antonio Spurs collapsed in 2013 and gave away games 6 and 7. Those two competing narratives will ultimately determine this rematch, the 2014 NBA Finals. Whether or not the Heat cross through that threshold into sports immortality and win 3 championships in a row, or whether or not the Spurs get their revenge and further their already existing dynasty. Tip-off is set for 9 p.m. tonight Eastern Time. ABC is your television network, and as always, you can follow me on Twitter at Joe Goodman Jr. for insights during the game. How close were those 2013 NBA Finals? Well, here's a refresher course. There were 42 lead changes in that series. There were 47 ties. The final average score for that series was Spurs 97.7, Heat 97.0. That's right. On average, the Spurs actually outscored the Heat. That's how close that series was, and that's how close this series is expected to be. The Spurs are better. They have a deeper bench this year. Meanwhile, Dwayne Wade is healthy, and that makes maybe the Heat a little better too. Then on the same token, the Heat don't have home court advantage, so that could ultimately be a disadvantage for the Heat. Here are 5 questions entering Game 1 and the series as a whole. How will Dwayne Wade's health affect the series? If his knees remain healthy, that might be a decisive factor for the Heat. Number 2, how healthy is Tony Parker? His sprained ankle has bothered him throughout the playoffs, and that could limit his mobility in the finals. Question number 3, will LeBron James settle for shots early in the shot clock, or will he get the Heat into their offense? In Game 6 and 7, that's where he got to, and that ultimately was the deciding factor in the series last year. Question number 4, how is the Heat going to keep track of all these incredible Spurs shooters? Marco Bellinelli, Boris Diaw, Danny Green, Manu Ginobili. These shooters could be the decisive factor in the series. Question number 5, Chris Bosh. Is the Heat going to get the Chris Bosh that began the Eastern Conference Finals, or is the Heat going to get the Chris Bosh that ended the Eastern Conference Finals? If Chris Bosh is aggressive, if he has an aggressive disposition in this series, the Heat might be able to steal a game early here in San Antonio. That could be a key to the series. And then finally, a bonus question, the matchups. How will Heat coach Erik Spoelstra and Spurs coach Greg Popovich match their chessboard? Last year, Spoelstra had Mike Miller, and he started him, and ultimately, Greg Popovich had to start Manu Ginobili at the end of the series. That was a disadvantage for the Spurs. There's no Mike Miller this year. Rashard Lewis is expected to start for the Heat. How will the Spurs match that? Will Thiago Splitter start tonight? Will Matt Bonner start? All these questions will be answered shortly. Have a great time tonight, Miami. From AT&T Center in San Antonio, this is Joseph Goodman of the Miami Herald.